Hey there, thank you so much for watching. I am excited to bring you my March recap and April budget plan. So it is April, thank goodness, I think, because March is a long month, right? So 31 days, but I feel like, I don't know, at least personally, it went a little bit better than January and February, a little bit. It was very, I would say intense. There was a lot that went on just for me, again, personally. But it ended up being ultimately a good thing, so a good month. So I'm glad to be able to close it out and then bring in my April plan. So I am here to share my real numbers with you, as well as my overall budgeting process and sort of mindset thinking as far as that goes, just to share kind of what I do. So here is what it looks like. I apologize for the lighting, but this is a recap, and I have a spreadsheet, but I write the numbers out just because for me it's easier to see numbers written pencil on paper, because I feel like it connects my brain with my whatever fine motor system, and it's easier for me to write things out when I see them on Excel. So to translate, what's in the computer into what's actually in my book right here. So this is what we have for March. So fixed expenses, which is everything sort of above the line, that includes housing, tithe, utilities, gym, phone, savings, and student loan. Altogether, that came in, and that was all what I had budgeted for. I'm actually caught up with all my utilities. I had been kind of playing fast and loose with that a little bit because, as you'll see, I'm right kind of on the bubble, but I'm right at the cusp of just being able to survive, which is why I'm doing this, because my fixed expenses are kind of high. So altogether, all in, my fixed expenses are $2,040, and they came in right on task. So everything below the line, what I call my variable expenses, and that includes gas, groceries, personal care, transportation, food out, additional clothing, things like that. That was a little bit higher, and that came in a little bit high this month, and I'm going to tell you why. I actually don't have my full totals here. My bad. I can actually get them for you. Sorry about that. It took me like an hour and a half to recap everything, which was a great process. I was kind of doing it in and out. I keep a Google Doc with my budget, and I feel like I'm always tweaking it and making updates as I go, but I try to keep standard in what I do. Oh, that was silly. Huh. I feel like it didn't save. Nope, I lie. 1202. So my total below the line variable expenses were 1202 for a total of 3242. My income this month was exactly, I can get that number to 3,600. No, it was roughly 3,600. It was not exactly 3,600. There's a lot that goes into this, but the plan is to simplify. So 1202, 2030, roughly 3,600. So my income equaled my expenses almost exactly, which is not ideal if you're aiming to get ahead, save money, pay off debt. Not ideal. And I understand this. So I'm going to be telling you exactly what went into my my variable expenses, because if I'm making roughly $3,000 and I'm spending, my fixed expenses are $2,000, then you have $1,000 to play with. But once you add in things like car maintenance, additional costs, it gets a little bit dicier. And a little bit more difficult when you add in $1,200 in additional costs. It's tough to get ahead. It's tough to pay off debt. So my additional costs, these are, so for the below the line items, I don't know, it's really, really dark. Can you see? So the categories with the green dot were things where I actually came in below my budget, and the categories with the red dot are where I came in above my budget. So we have 3 green dots and 3 red dots. Let's start with the good news and start with the green. So gas, I budgeted $160. I only spent $110, which is good. Personal care, I budgeted $200, and I only spent $179, which is also good. So that included, in personal care, a trip to Harmon, which is like a drugstore. Used a 20% off coupon, and I got things like shampoo, eyeliner, like makeup, girl stuff. Nails, which were $60, and then a month unlimited subscription to the hot yoga studio, which I really included more as a medical expense, but I put it in personal care because I have other medical expenses. We'll get there. So total was $179 out of a budgeted $200, and my transportation expenses were only $60. Like transportation meaning car maintenance was only $66 for an oil change and car wash. So all in, I think it came to was like $50, but I get a car wash thrown in. I feel like that was cheaper. It was like $34, and then I tip. I don't know. There was something else in there. But either way, it's fairly cheap. I just get regular. Yeah, I could find someone to do it for me for like $20 and then wait. But I like this place that I go to. So that was 60 out of a budgeted 100. So those are the 3 areas where I came in under budget, which is good. So talking about the red dot items, groceries, I budgeted $175. I spent $225. I'm not mad about it. $225 for 2 people for a month. Like I'm not mad about that. I buy a lot of produce. I cook for me and my mom because we share the house. And she also bought some groceries. We do buy a lot of produce. And this month I was like, because I was so frugal in February, we bought meat. We bought things like, I splurged on the fancy sugar-free coffee mate creamer. That, by the way, is totally worth every single penny. It was $3.89, $3.99, and I'm like, it's worth it, 100%. Because I make my coffee in the morning instead of buying on the way to work. Totally worth it. For food out, I budgeted $75. I ended up spending $129. For additional expenses, and here's the kicker, I had budgeted $80, and I ended up spending $463. Let me explain. So, those additional expenses included the following. My prescription that I mentioned in my what I spent, that was $22. My personal development, I bought 2 books because it was Sunday and the library was closed. Normally I do like to use the library. Library was closed, and it was also kind of a chance for me to sort of go and browse and see what was there. So that was $41. And then this was a medical expense. That would be for therapy sessions. And that's talk therapy that I do, psychotherapy. I work with a counselor that I've had for 14 years. And this was the month that I went back to her after, I'd say I visited her maybe a few times last year. And I needed to speak with her again this year, and she is invaluable. She turned my life around, literally turned me around. And is worth every single penny that I spent. So that is where that additional money went to. So that's my recap, where I am. Money in equaled almost exactly money out. And while that's not ideal, it could have been a lot worse. And I feel like this month, it was not a very, I would say not super frugal. It was not scorched earth, but it was very intentional. It was a very, very intentional month. Oh, and I also budgeted, sorry, there was one more thing. I spent $52 on clothing because I had an event that necessitated additional clothing. If you kind of, I don't know if you'll get that, but in a professional sense. That's all. So that was where that was for March. Turning the page on March and going into the April budget plan. And I'm kind of trying to tweak a bunch of things. And I want to take a moment to say, despite having a personal finance YouTube channel, I've actually not been so great or consistent about doing a budget on paper. But for the first 3 months of this year, I have been really good. So we have January, February, and March budgets on paper. So giving myself a gold star for that, 3 months. This year is my year. See, I'm like planned ahead for all of that. Really, I'm looking forward to this year, let me tell you. So, April. Couple additional expenses to add in and one fewer paycheck to account for. Because March has 5 paychecks, April only had 4. I get paid every week. It's just the way it is. So for April, I need to include lawn care because it's the springtime and lawn grows in the springtime. So that's an additional expense. I'm also carrying a balance with our care provider, which is annoying. And I need to pay that off. And the way I'm going to pay that off is I'm going to take money from my savings to pay that off. And as you can see, it gets tough because I am right on the line, where income equals outgo. And it's a challenge, and it's been a challenge for a while. and it just has. So, however, budgeting has really been helpful in allowing me to see and feel some type of direction and intention with what I have coming in and what I send out. And it's just given me a lot of peace about that. So in April, let me share that again, much the same as March. I almost exactly copied and pasted it into my budget categories. It's going to be a challenge because my additional category, I'm going to have to either have a talk with my therapist and see if there's something we can do. I may have to cut it down. I went 4 times last month. I can only afford to go 2 times this month. And we'll see if we can work something out, if that works. So yeah, that's where it is for this month. I will tell you what I did last month, though, that I believe made the difference, and I will aim to continue this every month going forward. I submitted my tithe. I gave my tithe on the first day of the month, and my goal is to do that. I'm actually going to do it tonight. So it processes tomorrow, and I do that because it reminds me where my money goes. It's not that I'm paying God at all. What I'm doing is I'm remembering that nothing I have belongs to me. Absolutely nothing. And everything comes from God, my higher power. I don't call it the universe because it's not the universe that's taking care of me. The universe doesn't have my back. The God that made the universe has my back. And I fully believe that. More than anything, that is something that I am so passionate about. So it's like I'm submitting this entire thing to him and saying, look, this is my plan. You can do what you want. Like, it's your money. You do what you want. All I do is work. And I say it again, I plan plans, not results. Like, all I do is work my plan. And God, the God of my understanding, my higher power, is in charge of all that. Is in charge of the results. And sometimes that sucks, and sometimes that's awesome. My interpretation of the results sometimes sucks and sometimes is awesome. But he is always in charge, and I believe more than anything, A, that he exists, B, that he has a plan, and C, that he knows me and loves me. So these are the things that I believe, and how that affects my money, because that's the first thing I'm doing. The second thing I'm going to do is pay my housing, which I say it a lot. My mom and I share this house, and it's a house I grew up in. It's shelter, and it could be a lot worse. It could be a lot better. We haven't made any updates to it since we've been here. I lie. She made an update in 2010 for the 2 upstairs bathrooms. It's about 2,000 square feet in the northeastern New Jersey, New York metro area. So it's not terrible at all. And I am so blessed to, whatever. I hate when people say, I'm so blessed. Shut up. Shut up. Yes, you are, but shut up. So yeah, I could say, I love hanging out with her most of the time. 98% of the time, we're great company for each other. I feel like we inspire each other. Sometimes we get on each other's nerves, but we're really kind of pushing each other. We're good sort of support to bounce ideas off of. So that's where that is. So let me just go through the numbers. My income this month is projected at $2,900. My total outgoes projected exactly at $2,900. That is no extra in debt, in paying debt. That is no extra in savings aside from my $200 for immediate savings. It's a little scary, a little dicey. Not my ideal at all. And at this point, we're kind of in a holding pattern. That's why I say holding pattern. I'm being very intentional with where I am. I have my side hustle that I'm working on, but I feel like just maintaining these numbers here with the work that I do every day, just maintaining this takes like 80% of my little energy. You divide your energy into like a pie chart, like it takes 80%. If anything, I have that 20% for like side hustle. And if anything in that 80% gets like off kilter or off balance and you have to start adjusting it, like that takes my 20% extra margin of energy. And I have to like, I don't have that 20% for side hustle. And that's exactly what happened in this month. You'll hear more about it in my side hustle Saturday. So that's just where it is. And that's what's happening. That's where it is. So that is my March recap and my April preview. And I've mentioned this before, since it is the 1st of April, I am going to aim for, I've done it, I did it the first year I've started my channel in 2015, and I have never done it successfully before, and I'll link to my successful vlogging every day in April, because I've only done it 1 year. I'm going to aim for that this year, because it's a good discipline, it's fun, you get to like see people's lives, what have you. I'm going to try. I've got some like ideas planned, ideas for videos that I might be able to toss up. So I won't be vlogging, but my goal is to post a video every day in the month of April, and we'll see how that goes. Yeah, so that is my March recap, my April plan and budget, and my April plan for the YouTube channel. So we'll see how that goes. That is, again, my goal. We'll see how that pans out in real life. Yeah, so I love this notebook. It's so pretty. And I feel like pretty things can be motivating. So that's where it is. If you have any questions about my budgeting process or how I work numbers or what have you, feel free to ask them. I love answering your questions for the most part. And I thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single minute that you spend with me, and I hope that you will keep watching.